So my name is Chris Chigazia, and I am a co-founder of a company called Off2Class, and we are software specifically for English as a second language teachers. And what I'm going to do today is show you how I use Off2Class for my own English as a second language lessons. And then that will take about 20 minutes. And after that part, you can start, or throughout that part, you can post your questions using the QA button. And then we can take up any live QA, any live questions you have for about half an hour after my presentation. So right now, I'm logged into Off2Class on my teacher account. And one thing you'll notice, if you've been into Off2Class before, you'll notice that usually in the top left of the screen, there is a Off2Class logo here. Now I've replaced that logo with a dummy logo. This is just a logo I found on the internet. The reason I did that is because it's for illustrative purposes. We can actually replace the Off2Class branding throughout the platform with your own logo. So if you're working for a school, or if you're a entrepreneur who's starting your own English as a second language tutoring or teaching business, we can place your logo there. So you're gonna see this way to learn logo in a number of places during the presentation today. So I'm logged into Off2Class as a teacher, and I'm on the lesson library. And here you have over 500 lessons that are designed for you to teach live to your students. Now, where we're a little bit different than, let's say, a course book or some of the more traditional publishers' tools is that everything has been designed from the ground up to be taught live by a teacher. We all have backgrounds, the people that started Off2Class have backgrounds as English as a second language teachers. We think that teachers are critical for secondary language acquisition. And so we designed everything here, all these 500 different lessons we've designed really to be taught in a live session between a teacher and a student. Now, depending on how you teach, we can accommodate a lot of different scenarios. So we have teachers using us in a one-on-one environment. If they're tutoring at a client's home or in their own home, they'll typically run us off a laptop and physically share the laptop or the tablet with the student. We have teachers that use us in an online environment. So like I'm doing right now, you just share your screen, whether you're using Zoom or Skype. And we also have teachers projecting us in classroom environments. So projecting us up on projectors or on IW interactive whiteboards or on TV screens. So depending on how you use, what your teaching environment is, we can actually accommodate that. And basically, as long as you have access to an internet browser, you can use Off2Class. So here in our lesson library, I'll just tell you a little bit about the organization. So at the top, you have our topical-based lessons. So you have the listening activities, the speaking activities, and the reading activities. Under, you have our first 2 IELTS components, our first 25 business English lessons, and a massive idioms category. I love teaching idioms to my students. Now from there under, the library is very much vocabulary and then grammar focused. So we have a very good coverage of vocabulary. Now, obviously 500 lessons is a lot to navigate through. So you can use our search bar up here at the top and the level filters to narrow down your search when you're looking for a specific lesson. So you can type something into the search bar like present simple negative, and then in real time, all the lessons that touch on present simple negative show up. It looks like we've got a listening activity that touches on the present simple negative. That's at the beginner level. We have grammar focused verbs lessons as well. Now you can also filter the library by level. So let's say, these blue level filters under the search bar. Let's say today you have a class or a student, you know that the student is either a pre-intermediate or an intermediate, you're not exactly sure. So I've just selected pre-intermediate and intermediate. Now, only the pre-intermediate and intermediate lessons are being reflected back to me in the library. And when I go to search, let's say I type in something like the passive, only pre-intermediate and intermediate lessons are being reflected back to me, because that's what I've selected up here. I can easily go back to all levels by clicking all levels, and obviously that has an effect on the search results. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a lesson. Let's say today, let's do a conditionals lesson. I like the conditionals. So let's do our C1.2 conditionals lesson. So I'm going to press launch lesson. I'm going to press this rocket here to launch this lesson. And the system asks me who I'm teaching today. I'm going to show you why, but it's very important when you're using Off2Class to register the student that you're actually teaching that day. So I'm going to pretend that you guys are one student. You're my student, Gabriella. So I'm going to select Gabriella and enroll Gabriella into the class by pressing this orange Gabriella button. So now we are in the Off2Class classroom. Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue twister. And what you've got now is you've got the lesson content on the right. That's for the student to see. And the teacher notes on the left. That's for you to see. So the teacher notes guide you and coach you on how to teach the content. The first page of the teacher notes is just giving you a summary, a fact sheet, everything you need to know about teaching this lesson. If you've never taught this lesson before, it's great to review for 30 seconds, even if you've got the time, before jumping into the lesson. And then every time you move a slide, the teacher notes move with you. So for slides that are exercises, they provide the answers. For slides that are really designed to be eliciting or concept checking, they give you different ideas on how to elicit or concept check the target language. So you obviously want to hide the teacher notes from your student while being able to see them yourself. So the way to do that is you press this full screen button here in the top right. And what happens is when I press that full screen button, the teacher notes pop up as a separate window. Now for an online lesson, all I have to then do is the big browser window with the slides in it. I just need to make a bit of space for the teacher notes pop up on the left here, and we're done. Now I can see the teacher notes. They're completely visible to me on my screen while they're completely hidden to you, the students. So this is the same principle if you're using Skype or you're using GoToMeeting or Google Hangouts. This is also the same principle if you're teaching in person. In person, the only step that I need to add is that you will actually close the teacher notes pop-up when you go into full screen, and then you'll log into Off2Class on another device, and you can actually track your teacher notes on a secondary device. So your teacher notes will sync to your smartphone or your tablet. If you're tutoring, you can just push them off to the side. If you're in a classroom, you can place it on your desk. And you know that they're always going to be there if you need to rely on them. So now we're ready to teach. And the content is really designed to be adaptive, and it uses the communicative approach. So it's really designed for a live conversation class, and it's designed to get your students speaking. So all these examples and exercises I use to get my students to say full sentences, to expand upon, and you can use a number of our tools to kind of mark up and expand and adapt the content as you teach live. So you'll notice in the top right of the screen, I've got a couple tools up here. So if I use the pen, I can actually draw on the screen. And I've got a number of different colors. Obviously this lesson is in blue, so the blue doesn't stand out great. I can use red. I can adapt the content as I move live with my pen. I've also got a text tool, and I can actually write on the slides. And the nice thing here is I could write something, I could write if we need to break out or if the student says something, I can actually write that onto the slide. And these annotations aren't permanent, so as you move slides, they erase. Now, if you wanted to break out into a more permanent whiteboard environment, in the top left here, you'll see a canvas button. And anytime you press that in any of our lessons, you'll be taken into our whiteboard. We call it a canvas. So I've just pressed this canvas button, and now I'm in what we call our lesson canvas. And inside the lesson canvas, you've got a number of tools. You've got your pen, you've got your text tool. You can also import images, and you can also import YouTube videos. And the nice thing, so this is a conditionals lesson. So I've got Cyndi Lauper, Time After Time here, this YouTube video. But the nice thing about the canvas is that we automatically save it. So for each lesson, we automatically save your canvas. And then the next time you open that lesson, the next time you're in this conditionals lesson, this canvas will be saved so that you can rely upon it the next time. So some teachers, this is obviously a very popular feature of Off2Class. Some teachers like to use the canvas to build it interactively with their students live in a session. Some teachers like to use the canvas ahead of time. So they pre-populate the canvas with all their different lesson content ahead of time. And then when they're teaching the lesson, they can break out to the canvas at any time. And the other really nice thing is that a copy of your canvas actually gets sent to your student automatically at the end of the lesson. So I'm going to come back into the lesson, and I'm going to come out of full screen. And it's been a great session, but now it's time to end the lesson. We've had our session. And I'm going to end the session by pressing this purple close the classroom button on the bottom right. And when I press that button, the system asks me if I want to send my student the homework. That's one of the reasons why we enrolled Gabriella to the lesson at the start. Each of the Off2Class live lessons also has a set of student self-study that you can send to your student for asynchronous self-study between your sessions. And this is also a very nice feature. So the live content is also matched with student self-study. So I'm going to decide to send Gabriella the homework. I'm going to press send homework. Now, Gabriella receives a notification. The class is over. Gabriella receives an email notification that you've assigned her the homework. And she knows this homework is coming because you told her during class. And the homework is directly feeding off the live lesson content that you had with Gabriella. So I'm just going to show you now what Off2Class looks like from Gabriella's perspective when she logs in between classes. So I'm going to just share my screen again, but I'm going to now be sharing. So this is what Gabriella's screen looks like when she logs into Off2Class. And again, she can access this from any internet connected device. She doesn't need a laptop. Many of our students complete their homework and access Off2Class from their mobiles. And we just run off the browser the same way we run off a computer. And again, you'll notice that my brand is up here instead of the Off2Class brand. And what you can see is basically Gabriella's homework assignments are at the top. And then each time Gabriella has been enrolled in a class, she also gets delivered a lesson summary in the bottom right. And when we press review lesson summary, Gabriella gets the kind of 6 to 10 main slides from the lesson in the lesson summary. So she can use this as a reference or while she's completing her homework as a reference. And as I mentioned, the last slide of the lesson summary is actually the lesson canvas. So if I press this button, it opens up a copy of the lesson canvas that we use during class. Now it's a static copy, but obviously she can play the YouTube videos. So the lesson summaries almost act as a personalized course book for the student. I'm just going to open up the homework to show you what the homework looks like. So we're in the homework. Again, Gabriella can open up the lesson summary from directly within the content. And let's put some answers in here. If you bring all the required documents to the passport office, you will receive a new passport within 14 days. Let's put a wrong answer in here. If the car journey was very long, the children usually get bored and fight with each other. Okay, so now I'm gonna submit the homework. Well, first I'll show you guys the homework just so you get a feel. It's 2 pages long. It directly feeds from the lesson you taught her that day. We always, especially for pre-intermediate up, we always give an opportunity for the students to write. So you can see this is the 2nd page of the homework, and it's got a free text question as well as a short answer question. Let me just put an answer in here. A wrong answer. I was very sleeping because I was late. Now we're going to submit the homework. So your students come in, log in, complete the homework, and then I'm going to submit the homework on behalf of Gabriella. And you'll receive an email notification that your student has submitted the homework. And now I'm going to go back to my teacher account and just show you guys what the homework looks like from the teacher's perspective when you take it up. So I'm back in Off2Class in my teacher account, and I'm going to click on my student management button. This is the big yellow button in the top header here. And here are all my students. I'm going to click on Gabriella. And this is Gabriella's profile on Off2Class. You can save notes about her at the top. This is a very nice feature. If you save notes about Gabriella, they'll pop up every time you enroll Gabriella in a lesson. They'll actually pop up to you, and it's a nice way to remind you what she's struggling with, the challenges she's currently having, what she's trying to work through, or you can just save her hobbies, her interests, what she likes, so it can remind you to personalize the lessons while you're teaching her. And under the note-taking system, you've got a lesson history table. And in the lesson history table, I can see the date and the lesson of every time I've taught Gabriella a lesson. So today is the 24th, obviously, and we taught Gabriella the conditionals lesson. And then in the homework column, I can see whether I've assigned homework for this lesson, whether Gabriella's completed the homework, or whether I have an opportunity to assign the homework. If I didn't assign the homework at the end of the class, I can actually assign it from here. So these little symbols here, if you hover your mouse over them, they tell you what the symbol will do. So for example, under Easter Island, I haven't assigned the homework. So I could actually click this little plus sign here and assign the homework. But for the conditionals lesson, I see a little green star here. And when I hover my mouse over the green star, it says that Gabriella has completed the homework. So I can actually click this star and it will open up Gabriella's answers. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that star. And now we are in what we call the homework classroom. What you have is Gabriella's answers on the right, and you have the answer key on the left. Now, anytime Gabriella's answers are the same as the answer key, they show up in green. Anytime Gabriella's answers are different from the answer key, they show up in orange. Now, this makes it very easy for you to take up the homework because you've got kind of a parallel view going on. So many teachers, especially teachers that use this in a one-on-one environment, will actually take up the homework live with their students as the first 10 minutes of the next class to kind of close the cycle from the previous session you had together. So we have a number of tools that you can use to leave feedback for your students on their work. So you've got a notepad, a check mark, and a cross mark. And you can drop any of these tools on any question to leave feedback for Gabriella. So if I drop the notepad on number 2, I can leave a comment. And I could just say something personal like, great work, Gabriella, even though you got it wrong. Just give her some encouragement there. And then her comment is there. Now, also, I'll just go to the second page of the homework. We don't auto-correct the free text answers because there's no right or wrong answer. So in these situations, it's good to use the check mark and the cross mark. So I'm going to put a cross there. Oh, whoops. And you can also leave feedback for Gabriella on the question using the feedback tool. Again, I'm just going to say good work. But you can also leave a general comment for Gabriella. So if you wanted to leave feedback on the homework in general, but not on a specific question, you can leave a general comment for Gabriella by placing this notepad on this bottom space here. Now, when it comes time to close the classroom, you've taken up the homework, either live with the student or on your own time. We ask you whether you want to mark the homework as reviewed or not reviewed. The difference here is that if you mark the homework as reviewed, Gabriella will be delivered a copy of the answer key. So I'm gonna be marking this homework as reviewed. Now, Gabriella will receive a notification that her teacher has reviewed her homework. And I'll just show you what the reviewed homework looks like from Gabriella's perspective. So now the homework isn't an active assignment, so you won't find it up at the top. It's actually down here on the left in the completed homework list. So when Gabriella clicks review homework, so by the answer key, what you'll see is the answer key. We don't give her a copy of the answer key. We superimpose the answer key on top of her answers. So you can see now that her top answer, instead of being in blue in a neutral color, her top answer is in green. Her next answer is in orange. And the notes that we were leaving, the feedback that we left Gabriella, this is the note that we left Gabriella on A2. You can see the little blue tooltip, and when she hovers over, she sees the note. And the general feedback that we gave Gabriella on her entire homework, not tied to a specific question, that's down here, and it shows up as a yellow sticky pad. So that's the reviewed homework. We do make it easy for you to give personal feedback to your students based on their work. I'm going to close the homework, and I'm going to come back to Off2Class from teacher's perspective. So that's effectively the core loop of Off2Class. You have the teacher-led lesson, then you assign homework to your students after the teacher-led lessons. They log in asynchronously, complete their homework, submit it to you, and then you either take it up on your own time and leave them feedback and review their homework, or you can take up the homework live with them as part of your next session. We've also got a placement test. That's also a very popular feature of Off2Class. I'll just show you how the placement test works. So under this teacher menu up here in the top, you'll see there's an option for the placement test. I'm going to click the placement test. And here on the placement test, you can assign the placement test to your students directly by pressing this green assign test button. I have the option to assign the test to any of my existing students that I've registered to Off2Class. But if you wanted to send a placement test to a prospective student, to a student that you've never taught an Off2Class before, you can actually register the student right here. You can register the student by pressing this green prospective student button. And you can register your student right here and press add student. And then we'll deliver you the student's credentials, and we'll provide the instructions for the placement test as well. Now, your students log in, so I'm not going to assign the test right now to anybody, But effectively, what happens is your students log into Off2Class and complete a 100-question placement test. Each question is multiple choice. I can actually show you some sample questions by pressing this View Sample Questions button. Each question is multiple choice, and then every time they answer a question, there's always an I don't know option. Now, the reason for the I don't know option is that you can actually assign this test to any student at any level. And if they click I don't know 7 times, we'll cut off the test to stop it from getting discouraging. And the first 20 questions are at the beginner A1 level. The next 20 questions are at the elementary A2 level, and we progress all the way up to the upper intermediate advanced level. So again, you can send this test to a student at any level, and you can also send it multiple times to students. So it's 100 questions, but it's pulling off a database of 800 questions. So you can send, no 2 tests are the same. You can send it multiple times to your students. And the interesting thing is what you get back as a teacher. So for a student that has completed the test, I'm going to click on my student Jose because I know he's completed the test. And I'm going to open up Jose's results. His results are sitting in the top row of his lesson history table here. What you get back as a teacher is, of course, we produced the level. So Jose's proficiency level is a B1. This is his CEFR classification, and we provide you with the rubric here. This is directly off the Common European Framework for Languages. This is what a B1 means. But more interesting than a level, and I know that students are obsessed with their levels and that many teachers are obsessed with their levels as well, but more interesting than the level, under that, we provide you with a gap analysis. So for every time the student got a question wrong or answered I don't know, we provide you with the question, the student answer, and what the right answer is. And then we also show you which lesson from our library you can use to target that weakness or deficiency. So even though Jose is a B1, what we can see, like most ESL students, he's got a number of fossilized errors at lower than B1 level, at the A1 and the A2 level, where he's struggling. So clearly Jose has an issue with object pronouns, even though he's a pre-int student, pre-intermediate student, he's struggling with his object pronouns. So if you had a new student, what I would actually do is have them sit the placement test, take up their placement test results with them live, show them these results and say, I'm going to take a personalized approach with you, and I'm going to target some of the fossilized errors, some of your deficiencies at more intermediate, at more junior levels than you're currently scoring at. So you could actually use this as a learning plan with Jose, and you can open up the lessons that he's in the areas that he's struggling with directly from this gap analysis. So I can click on the object pronouns link right here, and automatically the system will ask me if I want to enroll Jose into the lesson. I will choose yes, let's enroll Jose, and I'm in the classroom. I could start teaching Jose the object pronouns lesson right away and deal with that deficiency. You could see right away whether he just scored a couple questions wrong and he was being a bit fast on the placement test, or whether he truly does have a deficiency in object pronouns. So this is quite a powerful tool. I will close this classroom and come back to Jose's placement test results. This is quite a powerful tool to provide a very individualized, kind of focused approach to your students' learning. And these lessons from the gap analysis, they actually get populated in Jose's profile as a learning plan. So up here, we're on his lesson history, but you could actually go to Jose's learning plan and all the lessons from the gap analysis get populated here. And you could, at the start of your relationship with Jose, just teach straight out of this learning plan. You can launch the lessons directly from here. So that is actually what I know. I've been talking for a while. I've already gone half an hour. So I apologize in advance for that. So that's basically what I wanted to show you guys today. Off2Class is quite a powerful software. And there's a lot of features that I haven't shown you, just to kind of keep it brief and keep it core. So I would invite everybody to post any questions you might have about what I've shown you today or about anything else. You can post questions using the QA button, and the QA button should be at the top of your Zoom window. You'll see a button that says Q&A, and you can post questions up there. JC has asked whether you can create more than one canvas per lesson. No, so each lesson has one canvas, but what I didn't show you is that the canvas is infinite. So you're not restricted by any space. So JC, let me show you what I mean by launching a lesson. I'm gonna just launch any lesson. Oh no, let's go back to the conditionals lesson. So I'm gonna launch this lesson and I'm gonna jump into the canvas. So this is the canvas I developed for the conditionals lesson, but by using these toggle arrows down here, I'll show you that actually there's no limit on the size of this canvas. So it has an infinite size. So you're not restricted in any way in the size of the canvas you're building. But each canvas for each teacher only has each lesson for each teacher only has one canvas. Thanks for that question, JC. That was actually a great question. Okay, so Yvonne is asking if she decides to teach online, how does the student see the screen? How does the student join the lesson? So I should just clarify here. Basically, Off2Class works on any video conferencing system. So right now, for example, we're using Zoom. Zoom is an example of a video conferencing system. Skype is also an example of a video conferencing system. So basically what happens is, Yvonne, is you will have the Skype call the way you would have any Skype call. You will call your student, and then on Skype, you'll click share screen. There's a feature on all video conferencing systems to share your screen. You will then share your screen with Off2Class running in it. And then you'll follow the steps I showed you today. You'll launch a lesson on Off2Class, just like I'm launching a lesson now. And since you're sharing your screen, your student will be seeing everything on your screen. And then you'll click this full screen button in order to hide the teacher notes from your student. And once I click that full screen button, now my students on the other side of the Skype call will only be seeing the lesson content. And I can see the teacher notes. And then anytime you draw on the screen or mark up the content or break out into the canvas, anything you do on your computer, that will happen for your student on their end of the Skype call. So that was a good question, Yvonne. I hope that answered it. Julia's asking, can she upload her own ready-made material to Canvas? Yeah, so Julia, currently what you can upload into the Canvas is YouTube videos and images, and you can import your text. As far as files are concerned, that's coming. We're going to be releasing a lesson editor functionality in the coming months. We're actually in final testing there, and that will be a place where you can bring in full-scale documents into Off2Class. But currently, no, you're limited to text, images, and videos. Lynn's asking about, I didn't see the notebook when you were talking about them. Were they on the right-hand side where you are? Oh, the teacher notes. Okay. Yeah, so the reason you didn't see the teacher notes, so again, I'm going to just launch a lesson. So right now what you can see is I've launched a lesson and you've got the lesson content on the right. That's for the student to see. And you've got the teacher notes on the left. Obviously, you want to hide the teacher notes from your student. Now, the way you hide the teacher notes from your student while being able to do that, while being able to see them yourself, in an online setting, what you would do is press this full screen button here. That causes the teacher notes to pop up. And then I make a little bit of space for the teacher notes so that I can see them easily while they're hidden from my student. Now, Lynn, I know that you don't teach online, you teach in person. So for an in-person lesson, the way you would hide the teacher notes from your lesson, from your student while being able to see them yourself, it follows the same principle with one extra step. What you're gonna do is you're gonna press this full screen button again in the top right of your screen. And then you're going to close the teacher notes. So now there's no teacher notes present on the screen. It's just the lesson content. And you can actually, now if you log into Off2Class on your smartphone or on a secondary device, on a tablet, just on a browser, use the same login credentials that you use to access Off2Class on your computer. You'll see a big button that says track your active classroom's teacher notes. And when you press that, your teacher notes will actually be synced to your mobile or your tablet. So if you're tutoring someone in person, you could have them focusing on the computer or on the tablet, focusing on the lesson content, and then your teacher notes could be synced on your mobile, which you could place just off to the side to the lesson a little bit. I hope that answers your question, Lynn. Andrew says, what does it mean that we can still use even if we do not sign up? Okay, Andrew has a good point. Andrew's asking about the placement test and using the placement test even if you're not subscribed to Off2Class as a subscriber. So yeah, so the placement test currently is even available to teachers that aren't subscribed to Off2Class. So basically what that means is even if you're not an Off2Class subscriber, you can assign the placement test to students. And what you'll be limited to is the student will be limited to just completing the placement test. And as far as your account, what you'll be limited to is just really receiving their results. So you'll receive the gap analysis, but obviously you won't be able to open lessons, enroll them into classes, send them homework, but you'll receive the gap analysis. Lynn's asking about pure beginners. Yeah, so pure beginners are tough. What I would suggest for pure beginner is using, for a real pure beginner, starting with the letters and sounds category. So this is our letter and sounds category. It's down several rows down here in the purple row, and it's one over. And the letter and sounds category for a pure very early stage beginner is a nice starting point. And I'd work through the alphabet, the major sounds of the English alphabet, and the major sounds in English. And then you can start to incorporate, after the letters and sounds category, you can start to incorporate some of our beginner grammar lessons. So if I just click beginner up here, so I've used the level filters up here, these blue level filters, and I've clicked just beginner. And you can see that now only the beginner lessons in the library are being reflected back to me. And a good grammar lesson starting point would be, once you've worked through the letters and sounds category, to work through subject pronouns, It might take you several lessons to get through our subject pronouns lesson with a pure beginner. Then move on to object pronouns, maybe some possessive adjectives, and potentially the verb to be. Where's my verbs? Yeah, potentially the verb to be. And then perhaps you'll be at a stage where you can start working through some of our very basic early stage listening activities with your student. This might be several weeks or even a month after you've been tutoring your student. We've got Dahlia from Israel is asking a question. Dahlia's asking about computers. Is whether everything we work with is done through computers or whether things can be printed. Yeah, so we run as a software. That's a very good point. So the power of Off2Class is much more powerful when it's being run through a software. We aren't just a bank of printable worksheets. What we're really trying to do is provide a tool that increases efficiency for the teacher and for the student. So we have teachers that are managing up to 50 students on Off2Class. And you can imagine if you're managing 50 students, each one of them has active homework assignments, each one of them has placement test results. So the nice thing about Off2Class when you use this as a software is you don't have to think handing things out. You just assign everything out to your students. So if you're using this in a classroom environment, you just assign everything out to your students with the click of one button. They all log in, complete their homework. You receive the homework back in a digital form. And again, we make it very simple for you to provide that feedback for your student by using us through the software. Yeah, so that's a good point. We run as a software. Yvonne's asking about a video conference that we work best with. So we've spent a lot of time and we actually work with any video conferencing system, any of the major video conferencing systems we work with. So Skype, Google Hangouts, GoToMeeting. That being said, I'm not affiliated in any way with Zoom.us. That's actually the video conferencing system we're working right now. My favorite to use Off2Class with is Zoom.us. And the reason for that is that if you're doing one-on-one lessons, Zoom.us, you can actually use it for free. The free accounts work just fine. You can record your sessions, which is really nice if some of your students want to watch the lessons after. And it works very well in low bandwidth environments. So what I mean is if one of your students is joining from a country that doesn't have good internet speeds, Zoom handles that quite well. So I would definitely recommend Zoom.us if you haven't made a decision yet about which video conferencing system you want to use. That being said, we work on Skype, Hangouts, FaceTime, whichever system you want to use. Oh, I've already answered Julia's question. So Julia's saying she's only succeeded to use us with Skype. Basically, what you need to do is figure out how to share your screen on the other video conferencing system of your choice. But I'll just show you something, Julia. We actually have some videos. So if you click this support button up here, and then click on the video tutorials button, this pink video tutorials button here, what you'll see is we actually have some recorded videos. We have one that shows you how to use us for in-person teaching. So again, this is whether if you're physically in a classroom or if you're tutoring someone off your laptop or tablet, you'll watch this in-person video here. These are only 3-minute long videos. If you're using Zoom, you'll watch this video. If you're using Hangouts, you'll use this video. If you're using Skype, you'll use this video. And we actually show you step-by-step how to launch the lesson and how to share your screen using the video conferencing system. Or for the in-person video, I actually show you how to track your active classroom's teacher notes on your mobile device. So please, if anything is unclear when you're trying to use us in a different environment, please try to watch one of these videos, because they're only about 3 or 4 minutes long, and they really do show you step by step how to execute us in your environment. Thanks for the question, Julia. That's great. Yvonne's asking about the pro option. So I'll just remind everybody that at the start of the webinar, what I showed you was that instead of the Off2Class logo, up here we have the this logo that I found off the internet. I call it a dummy logo. The reason that's up there is because we have a feature that's called the Pro feature. And what that basically does, it allows you to brand Off2Class with your own logo. And you might have seen when we were in the homework assignments or in the placement test, or from the student's perspective, this logo was appearing in all those places. Now, that's what the Pro feature does. It allows you to bring your logo in place of the Off2Class logo. It's a relatively new feature that we've launched. And basically, the way that works is that any account, any subscription can become Pro by signing up for Pro, and what it costs is it's $150 setup fee. So basically, it's $150, and then your logo is up on Off2Class forever. No matter what subscription you decide to subscribe to, whether you go for light, medium, or heavy, whether you go for monthly or annual, whatever subscription you subscribe to and pay for, your logo will be present. And it's a one-time fee. You never have to pay that again. Even if you unsubscribe from Off2Class and then came back to us, your logo would still be up. Julia's asking about the quiz button. That's an interesting question. So basically, there's a feature that I haven't shown you guys yet, but under this teacher tab here, you've got the lesson library, the placement test, and games. If I press on games, you'll see that I've got 2 games up here. I've got a quiz game and a game show game. The quiz game is modeled off of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style. The game show game is modeled off a Jeopardy style. Obviously, both very popular games in the ESL community. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to press that. I'm going to come back. So if I click on quiz, I've got a number of game sets to pick from here. And these all link back to our library. So if I click on the past simple quiz, basically you've got 20 questions on the past simple, and they cover all 5 of our past simple lessons. They cover the past simple in total. So the past simple in the present tense, in the positive, in the negative, and the question form. So it's nice to launch the past simple quiz once you've been doing a number of past simple lessons with your students. And so it's 20 questions. Your students have 3 lifelines, and you can play this live interactively with your student, and you can use it as a form of informal assessment. And what I mean by that is, let's say on the first question here, your student answered, fried, tried, flew. So flew is the right answer, but let's say your student answered to copy. Obviously that's incorrect. You can get back to the lesson content just by clicking the title here. And similar to the gap analysis, that will actually take you back into the lesson content, and you can quickly review the past simple with your student. So it can be a nice, quite a powerful form of live informal assessment that you can run live with your student. You can man the controls, and then you can have your student answer everything orally. But as Julia pointed out, you can actually also assign these quizzes to your students to complete on their own time in their own Off2Class login. So if I click onto one of my students, I'm going to click onto Chin. Now I'm in Chin's profile. And as you can see, next to the homework column, there's a quiz column. So just on the right here, there's a quiz column. And anytime you teach Chin a lesson that also has a quiz associated with it, you can actually press this button and assign the quiz to Chin. And basically, I'm not going to assign it, but what will happen is when Chin logs into Off2Class, he'll see a big button that says Open Quiz, and Chin can complete the quiz on his own time. And when he completes the quiz on his own time, you'll get his results back to you in this table, and you can that way use the quiz as an informal assessment to see if Chin understands the lesson content, in this case, adjectives opposites, as much as you thought he did. So it's a nice addition. It's like a gamified version of assessment or homework. Okay, so Andrew is asking, is there a progress test, or whether do we have a specific progress test, or whether you can assign the placement test multiple times. So effectively right now, the placement test is our progress test. You can assign the placement test multiple times to your students. Because it's 100 questions pulling off a database of 800 questions, no two tests are the same. So you could, many teachers, what they'll do is they'll assign the placement test when they first get a new student, and then work through that individual learning plan with the student. And then after, let's say, a month or 2 months of learning with you, they'll reassign the test, and then the student will take the placement test again, and you'll use that as a progress tracker and to recast your learning plan about what lessons you should tackle next with the student. Oh, Dahlia is asking about, do we have any lessons on reading comprehension skills? Absolutely, and it's actually quite ironic, Dahlia, that you're asking, because we just released 5 new reading activities yesterday. So that's a great question, and I'm excited to show you. So at the top of our lesson library here, you've got our listening activities, our speaking activities, and our reading activities. So in our reading activities category, you've got a bunch of topical-based reading activities. So I'm going to launch, let's launch the story of Google. This is I believe it's a pre-intermediate lesson. And again, like all our lessons, this lesson is designed to be taught live in a live setting. So what you have are some warm-up questions at the start where you can elicit some of the target language that's going to be featured in the reading text. And then the core of the lesson is actually a reading text. So it tends to be about 200 to 400 words spread over multiple slides. Any definitions we list on the left. And then the homework for this lesson is a deep reading comprehension exercise. So if I click on the homework for this reading exercise, what you'll see is we deliver the reading text back to your student. It's the same text from the live lesson, but has very detailed comprehension questions based on the text. So you've got, very specific, almost IELTS style questions on the reading text. And then usually a for your text section at the back where the student can write from their own perspective and form their own opinions about the reading text. So yeah, the homeworks for our reading activities are quite powerful, Dahlia, as far as reading comprehension goes. Thanks, Dahlia. And I've got one final question here, which is perfect because we're coming to the end of our hour. JC's asking, When you register a new student, they receive an email with a link, right? Okay, so basically, when you register a new student, JC, what happens actually is we send you an email. The teacher will send you an email with all the account information of the student. So their email address that you put for them to log in, the password that you put for them to log in, and some short, very basic steps of how to access Off2Class. You can then just forward that email to your student. Or you can, if you communicate with your student in other ways, you know, on chat or Facebook, what have you, you can then just copy the text from that email and paste it and forward it to your student. And that's everything the student needs to know about accessing Off2Class is in that email. So we make it quite simple for you when it comes to a new student. So that was a great session, guys. Thanks for all your questions. If you have any questions that pop up after today's webinar, you can actually ask me directly. Any of the emails you got when you registered for the webinar, if you reply to any of those emails, they'll come straight to my inbox. So if any questions pop up after the webinar, feel free to ask. But if there are no more questions today, I will cut it off. We are exactly at the hour mark, so that was a wonderful session. And thank you very much to everyone for participating. Bye, Yvonne. Bye, JC. Bye, Lynn. Anybody else? Sorry if I forgot your name if you participated. Oh, bye, Dahlia. And that was great. Cheers. Thank you.